Jordan Peterson is wrong about happiness. He criticizes the modern culture for being all about chasing empty pleasures like partying all the time, meaningless sex, drugs, endless entertainment. He's right to criticize the modern culture, but he's dead wrong that the problem with the modern culture is that everyone's chasing happiness. He claims that happiness is fleeting, that it's just a temporary pleasure, but this is a total straw man. The modern culture is really about drowning out how empty and meaningless people feel about their lives with constant distractions. People are not chasing happiness. They're fleeing the pain inside. In today's video, I want to talk to you about why Jordan Peterson is wrong about happiness, what happiness really is, and what the real problem with today's modern culture actually is. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Eric. I am working on an introspection guide. I have poured everything I have learned about introspection into this guide. It's a little over 50 pages, and it goes over what emotions are, why we have them, and how you can productively utilize them in order to gain valuable information about yourself and your life. It dives in deep into what introspection is and how you can go about practicing it. It has loads of methods about how you can go about managing your emotions, and at the end there's even a list of emotions with their definitions and their common causes. I've been through a lot of crap in life, and I have needed to learn how to manage my emotions in a healthy way. And I have poured all of that knowledge into this guide. Now it's almost done, so if you want to hear when it comes out, be sure to subscribe to the channel, or you can go to the link in the description below and sign up to my email list, and I will let you know when this guide is done. But for now, back to the video. Jordan Peterson treats happiness as if it's the temporary, fleeting emotion of joy that you feel when you're hanging out with your friends. But this is not what happiness is. Happiness is a long-term emotional state. It's your emotional response to living successfully in life. Now let me explain. There are tons of emotions we can feel in life. Now, some of them can come and go very quickly, while others are more like a background emotional state that we live in. Now, when we think about how we experience these kinds of emotions, we can think of them as being in two distinct categories: short-term emotions and long-term emotions. Short-term emotions would be like the joy you feel hanging out with your friends, or the fear you experience when someone scares you. When that moment is over, the emotion too is quickly over. You feel sad when you watch a sad movie, but later on when you're hanging out with your friends, that sadness has passed. But when it comes to a long-term emotion, this is very different. Sadness can come and go, but depression is like a heavy blanket weighing you down all the time. When you're depressed, you might be able to go out with your friends and have a good time and feel better. But when the evening is over and you come home, that temporary joy of hanging out with your friends dissipates, and the heavy, draining feeling of depression sinks back in. Depression isn't a feeling you get briefly in direct response to something in front of you. It's not like someone says something to you and then you're depressed for the evening. Depression is more of a general emotional feeling about life. You feel like life isn't going well, or that you're failing, or you might feel like that you're not worth much, or that you aren't worthy of living life. One way to think about long-term versus short-term emotions would be like a landscape. Loads of things come and go from that landscape all the time. Over the course of years, loads of animals, people, events, all kinds of things happen on that landscape. But the landscape remains the same. Your long-term emotions are like your emotional landscape upon which all the short-term emotions live. When you're depressed, you might be able to laugh and have a good time, but there's always that depressive weight pulling you down. So what about happiness? Jordan Peterson says that it's a temporary, fleeting moment, that it's a short-term emotion, but this is incorrect. Happiness is the opposite of depression. It's the long-term emotional state of feeling like your life is succeeding, that you're doing well in life. Unlike depression, that's the emotional response of feeling like you're not doing well in life, happiness is the emotional response of feeling like you're flourishing in life. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be a billionaire and have 10 supermodel wives. Happiness isn't the end result of a life well lived, but the process of living well. When you work super hard and you go from living out of your car to being able to afford a shitty apartment, that is growth. That's moving forward in life. Happiness is the emotional response to this kind of forward momentum in life. You don't have to be living better than those around you to be happy. That's not what happiness is. Happiness is your feeling like you're on the right track in life, like you're moving in the right direction. Now, Jordan Peterson talks about happiness as fleeting, that it comes and goes, that you'll have a moment of happiness and that you should enjoy it.
Happiness is something that descends upon you. Everyone knows that. You know, it comes upon you suddenly. And then you should be grateful for it, because there's plenty of suffering. And if you happen to be happy, well, wonderful. Enjoy it. Be grateful for it.
He treats happiness as joy or pleasure, as a short-term emotion, but this isn't what happiness is. And you can really see his argument fall apart when he talks about why you should be motivated to live well. He says you should strive to be who you could be, but when he goes to answer why you should do this, his answer is just, well, why not?
And God only knows who you could be. And so that's how you should be that's what you should be striving for. And associated with that, you should be attempting to formulate some conception of the highest good that you can conceive of, that you can articulate. Because why not aim for that? It's like your life is short and it's troublesome. And perhaps you need to do something worthwhile with it. And if so, then you should do the most worthwhile thing. And you should figure out what that is for you.
This isn't motivation. You've only got one life and you should make the most of it. That's not motivation. That's not telling me why I should actually go after all the things that I could be or all the things that I want out of my life. All of it is tantamount to saying, well, you should go after all these things just 'cause. The motivation for going after the things that you want in life is happiness. Properly understood, that is. He is right that life shouldn't just be about chasing temporary, shallow pleasures, but about something deeper. But what that deeper thing is the long-term pleasure you get from living successfully, from flourishing. And this is what happiness is that long-term emotional state that you're in when you're living well. Another thing Jordan Peterson is right about is that much of life is not filled with immediate pleasures.
There are times in your life when you're not going to be happy. And then what are you going to do? Your goal is demolished.
Being happy does not mean feeling joy when you're doing the things that you want to do. It's not like when you're working hard at the job that you love that you're just like having a great time doing it. The pleasure you get from doing the things that you love isn't this, elated moment. It's the love that you feel for doing that thing. It's the love you feel for being the athlete or being a doctor or being an architect or something. Most of the time you spend studying to do those things, working hard to, be good enough to start doing it professionally, and then doing it professionally. Most of the time that you spend doing that isn't going to be pleasure in the immediate sense. But the deeper pleasure that you get is the love of doing it, the passion for doing it. That drive that gets you up early in the morning to start training, or the drive that you get to go to work those long, hard hours to make sure the job is done absolutely the way you want it done. The drive you feel to do it is the love to do it. And that's what it looks like to experience happiness. Now, when we tell ourselves that happiness isn't important, that happiness isn't the goal, we're repressing that part of ourselves that lets us know whether we're doing well in life or not. We're ignoring our emotions and ignoring what our subconscious is telling us. If we're unhappy and we're not doing well in life, then we just say, well, happiness isn't the goal anyway, and we just carry on miserably. Whereas if we listen to our emotions, if we listen to that part of ourselves that's saying, hey, you're not happy, something's wrong, we will learn that the friends we hang out with all the time actually make us feel like crap and we should be spending time with someone else. Or that, hey, actually, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be an architect. So to sum up, happiness and depression are emotions within you telling you about the state of your life. But now I want to talk about what Jordan Peterson is criticizing. Why people today chase shallow pleasures. We live in a culture rampant with subjectivism, and because of it, people view emotions as if they are causeless.
Happiness is something that descends upon you. Everyone knows that. You know, it comes upon you suddenly.
When we hear about someone's bizarre way of living, people's typical response is, well, whatever makes them happy. Now, this isn't said facetiously. It's the idea that if a delusion makes you happy, then what's the problem? Well, the problem is that's not actually happiness. Happiness is the result of successful living. You're doing well in life, and the resulting feeling is happiness. In other words, happiness is based on the facts, and a delusion isn't a valid alternative to the facts. You can't be happy without having cause to be happy. And here's the thing, your subconscious isn't stupid. It knows when there's a problem, and you feel it. That's what emotions like depression or chronic anxiety are. Your subconscious is screaming at you, there's a problem, fix it. And that is what no one wants to do anymore, and that is the problem with the modern culture. No one wants to face the problems within them anymore, so they run from their inner issues by numbing the pain with drugs, or partying to excess, chasing validation through meaningless sex, or numbing themselves with constant mindless media. The TV always has to be on, because even if there's a second where their mind can wander, where they can actually become aware of what's going on inside of them, they become uneasy and uncomfortable. The problem is not that they're concerned with their happiness. The problem is that they're running from their inner issues. Our whole culture reflects this, and we can see this as the goal in basically most of the activities around us. Holidays aren't about celebrating anymore, just another excuse for excessive drinking and yet another distraction from ourselves and our lives. Modern media is sensationalized to a ludicrous level. There's no substance or thoughtfulness to our media anymore. It's all designed to distract us from deeper thoughts and emotions. The entire dating world has been taken over by people who just want to use sex and other people to distract them from their inner issues, not to build meaningful relationships or connections. You can see how this psychology starts at a young age, because whenever you see a child start crying, immediately a screen is whipped out and shoved in their face. Don't feel the pain. Don't look inward, don't deal with your emotion, look at this screen instead. Our whole culture is designed to distract us from our inner selves. Any inner pain we feel is just drowned out with external stimulus. The result of all of this is that we feel empty. We feel like our life is meaningless, and that we feel disconnected from ourselves. We feel like we can't understand or trust ourselves. We feel like our emotions are causeless and that our motivations come from nowhere. Now, does this sound like a world chasing happiness? Does this sound like a world of people who are looking to thrive and flourish and do well in life? No, not at all. In fact, it's just the opposite. We do not live in a culture that's focused on happiness and creating a happy world. We live in a world where people are running from their inner pain. What we need is to learn how to face that inner pain, to learn how to face our inner selves in a constructive and healthy way, because that's the only way that we can feel secure with ourselves, and that we can feel like our life is meaningful, because meaning comes from that inner space, that part of yourself that most people have locked off. And it's only by doing this that you can be happy. Now, the best way you can get started doing that is to check out my introspection guide. I'm almost done with it, so if you hit that subscribe button, you'll hear about when it comes out, or sign up to my email list in the description below. It will help you get in touch with yourself and help you understand what you're feeling and why. Well, I hope you have gotten something out of this video. Like it if you liked it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.